My name is Sade. Welcome back to my channel. I do a lot of videos on reading, and in the coming weeks and months I'll definitely be layering in some videos on self-development. I'm hoping the lighting is okay because I put a lot of focus in on the audio because I have a new mic, and then kind of was like I put in a lot of focus, the audio, the framing, trying something different location in my apartment, and then just completely flubbed on the lighting. And now that I'm looking at myself in the viewfinder, I think it's maybe a little dark, but we move. I'm not going to spend any more time on it because I spent a lot of time prepping. All right. So we are here to talk about 75 Hard. So I did 75 Hard twice last year. I did fail the first time I did it, and I did it again, and that time I did, in fact, do it to perfection. Okay. Now that that's out of the way, full disclosure, or some things about me, I grew up naturally thin. That wasn't my favorite. Like, I wasn't super confident in my body at that time. And then as one does, post-puberty, post-college, where you get into like the real world and you're living a sedentary lifestyle as an adult, typically people tend to gain weight kind of about 5 years on average every year. So I was kind of in that range, and I was gaining weight here and there, but it was going to places that I liked. I felt like I have like a shapely hourglass, like womanly figure, whatever, if you will. So it didn't really bother me. Then COVID hit. Obviously, we're in the house. We're sedentary. In the beginning, I was definitely making efforts to continue to be active and was feeling good about where my body was at that time. Then COVID continued. It started to really mess with me mentally, kind of being trapped in the house all the time and those kinds of things. So I wasn't really getting out walking. I wasn't really getting outside. My father did also pass away in 2020, not from COVID, but he did pass away. And so grief and a lot of other stressful events, I didn't really have those healthy habits on lock. Like, I would have moments where I was doing all the things that I needed to do, but then I would fall off. And so the consistency wasn't there, and the habit wasn't really ingrained. And so when I was going through a really rough time, I wasn't taking care of myself. So I did gain a ton of weight. I would say at my highest, about 40 to 45 pounds overweight. I obviously knew that I wanted to make a change, but I just wasn't ready. But in 2023, or my cousin asked me the prior year, or at the beginning of the year, she asked me to be in her wedding, which was fall of 2023. And I knew this is a big family occasion, pictures on pictures on pictures. You're in the bridal party. Like, not to say that it's about me, because it's not her wedding is not about me. And, you know, it was a lovely occasion to be able to be a part of that with her. But I did have in mind that, like, I want to look good, because these are pictures that are going to be floating around in the ether for years to come, if not forever, because it's a wedding. Like, it's a very special occasion. It's an occasion that you do look back on, right? Again, not my wedding, but it's still a wedding, and it's a family wedding. So, like, lots of people that I know and care about are going to have all these pictures. So it did kind of, you know, push me to get started, start taking care of myself. So that year I did end up, for my own volition, losing 10 pounds, like, not any fitness challenge, not any specific plan, just on my own. And I'm totally down to make a video about that, and also the weight loss that I've had post finishing 75 Hard. Because in total, since my max weight, I've lost 37 pounds. And doing some quick math here, 22 of those pounds were from 75 Hard. But the other 14, I hope that math is correct. I'm not gonna check it right now. But the other 14 were lost naturally. And I still am like 5 pounds away from my goal weight. So the last 5 are going to have to be lost. When I say naturally, I mean like lost not with 75 Hard, which I think is like a very like forced scenario. That makes sense. So like more so just me living my life and trying to make healthy choices. And The last 5 as well, I'm going to lose, kind of just, again, living my life, including those healthy habits, those kinds of things. But now let's get into what I learned from both failing at 75 hard and succeeding at 75 hard, what you should know, all the tea. So if you click on this video, I assume that you actually know what 75 hard is. If you don't, basically, it is a fitness challenge. I believe the creator is Andy Frisella. I hope I'm pronouncing his name correct. In which, for 75 days, you do this very hard fitness challenge. So it includes 2 workouts a day, 45 minutes each. One of them has to be outside. You have to read 10 pages of, I believe it's supposed to be a self-development book, but I don't know that everyone, or like nonfiction, I don't know that everyone's sticking to that specific point, but because sometimes I don't hear people say that. They just say read 10 pages. It's 10 pages of nonfiction or self-development, and it's not supposed to be on your Kindle. Stick to a diet, no cheat meals, no cheat days, no alcohol. What else? Oh, a progress photo a day, a gallon of water a day. I think that's everything, but if it's not, or even just to do it, I'm going to insert a screen grab of the fitness tracker that I made for myself when I was doing 75 hard. One pivotal rule about this challenge as well is that if you miss a day, if you miss any of the items on the list, for any day, you have to start over again. So that is the genesis of why I failed the first time. I missed some days. But what I said to myself after trying it is that it's still a net positive. Even if I didn't get it perfectly, even if I do 75 non-consecutive days, I will still have worked out more than I ever worked out in my life, probably. Even when I was in sports teams in high school. So with that in mind, I was like, it'll still be a net positive. So I decided to keep going. And so I did 75 days, even though I did miss some days. So if I missed a day, I wouldn't necessarily restart. I would just add that additional day to the end, basically. So I kind of had things mapped out on my calendar and I was like, okay, this is be 75 days. Obviously, ideally, it was supposed to be consecutive. But once I missed a day, I would just add it to the end, so on and so forth. Boom. So I did that from February, about mid-February to May or June, whenever it actually ended, depending on how many days I missed, which I believe I missed 7 days in total. A good half of them were because I was actually just too sick, but sometimes or not like sick, like either I had a migraine or like whatever that meant, you know, not necessarily like sick, like flu or whatever, but there are times where it's just like physically like I don't have it. So I added those to the end. And then sometimes it was just motivation, if I'm honest, or the day just got away from me and I ran out of time to do all the things. So that's kind of what happened. But even with doing the non-consecutive days and not being perfect, I lost 15 pounds. And I felt better than I ever felt. The outdoor workout, because it was winter, and just also in general, I'm not really a runner or anything, although I'm starting to get into my running era. My outdoor workout was always a walk. And so having that nice long walk, clear my head, listen to my thoughts, explore my neighborhood and my city, it was so fantastic. And that was a game changer for me. I had so much peace. My mood was up. I just like felt so much better in my body, because when I had gained weight and when I was at my max weight, I felt so heavy. I felt so sluggish. I was in pain. Like my joints were aching. I was getting headaches all the time. I feel like the mental like fogginess was at an all-time high. I wasn't sleeping well. The list goes on and on and on. So I had all these physical symptoms. I did make these efforts to lose weight without a strict challenge, and I already saw the improvements in my quality of life with losing that 10 pounds. Like, I wasn't as sore anymore, I wasn't as achy anymore, because honestly, I don't think my body was meant to carry that weight. Like, I just was in pain, if I'm honest. So I'm not coming on here and talking about weight and the scale moving just to be like, oh, be skinny. Like, as someone who was naturally skinny my whole life, I never really enjoyed being like stick thin. You know, I think right now I consider myself to be on the slimmer end of things, but to some people I may still be big, and that's fine. That's your prerogative. Live your life. I've never been like, I want to be size 0. Like, that's never been an aesthetic. Even when I was size 0, I never enjoyed that aesthetic. So I'm not on here to be like, lose weight, lose weight, lose weight. For aesthetic purposes, like, aesthetic purposes are real. People make comments. there's insecurities that are fostered, especially as a woman. So I understand we live in a society that promotes thinness, but for me personally, that wasn't my primary purpose, although some of it was I was feeling less confident aesthetically for sure. But I still found myself to be beautiful. When I look back at those pictures, it's more evidence of the pain that I was in at that time. And so then I feel sad when I see those pictures because I think about the pain that I was in. But aesthetically, I've always been beautiful, in my opinion. In my opinion. So at my biggest, at my smallest, I've always been beautiful, but my preference has always been somewhere in the middle. But the reality and the thing that really made it so that I could not stay the way things were was because I was in pain and I felt like crap every day. So when I saw those improvements, I obviously wanted them to continue. So 75 hard was something that I'd always been wanting to do. And so I went into 75 hard thinking I was going to be perfect. Then when I started missing days, I had this moment of, what if you don't obsess over being perfect and just finish anyway? Even though you failed, even though you're not perfect, finish anyway. What's the worst that could happen? Net positive, I work out more than I've ever worked out in my entire life, and I get healthier and I feel better and I get all these benefits that I've been looking for ages. And I also get to have done a thing that I've seen on the internet for years and always wanted to do, but also felt like it was out of my reach. So I went ahead and I did it and I finished it and I lost 15 freaking pounds and I felt so confident. Even though I've been thinner in my life, I felt so confident because I worked for this. And then summer happened. I moved, I traveled a bunch, and maybe not a bunch, but somewhat. I say all that to say, I did end up kind of falling off of the consistency. Because that was another thing that I really wanted from 75 hard is the consistency, because a streak is very powerful for me mentally. So I wanted the streak back. So I was like, let's do this again. And I also had gained some of the weight back. I think I gained 7 pounds back of the 15, which was very painful for me. Because I'm like, I worked my butt off to lose the weight and it's coming back on. So, came back, started 75 hard again in August. And so I did August to November, but ended up having to push to December because I did miss one day. I forgot to read. I fell asleep, forgot to read, and I had to add those 20 days or something, whatever it was, onto the back end. And so I ended up doing 75 hard for 99 days consecutively to then get my 75 perfect days. And so then I finished 75 hard perfectly. The first time I had a few non-consecutive days. I also did drink a few times because it was my birthday and a few friends' birthdays as well. I think that was the main way that I failed the first time, but the second time, perfect. Although I did have to restart or add those days in the end, however you want to frame it. And here I am. So the second time around, I lost 7 pounds. So I essentially got back to where I was at the end of the first 75 hard. But since then, I've lost an additional 5 pounds over the holidays, which is kind of impressive. And as I filmed this on January 7th, I think, I am an additional 5 pounds down from after I finished the 75 hard last year. So, what did I learn, and do I recommend 75 hard? And then we'll get to some quick tips. For me, 75 hard allowed me to work on falling in love with movement of all forms. Don't discount walking. Many days I just did an active rest day where I did 2 45-minute walks. And the scale was still moving. I was feeling great. And I even noticed my endurance was still improving when I did have time to get on the bike or start running or doing other more intense forms of cardio, real cardio, if you will. So don't sleep on a walk, especially if you're trying to lose weight. Because as you may have seen somewhere on the internet, it doesn't spike your hunger in ways that sometimes other forms of exercise do. So don't sleep on a walk. Also, the mental clarity, if you're able to go on a walk, especially without music or any type of external stimulation. So good. I know. I think also something that really became so clear to me is that even though being healthy is hard when we're in a sedentary society and the grocery store is full of like yummy and exciting things that are not necessarily that healthy for you, even though we're kind of in a society that makes being healthy difficult, it's actually pretty simple. It's not all these elixirs, it's not all these like special things. Move your body every day, even if that's just a walk. Eat as many whole foods as possible. Yes, you can have a treat from time to time and eat out with your friends. Like, doesn't mean sit out of social occasions and be strict and be an almond mom with yourself. Because being social is also a big part of being healthy. Get good sleep. Drink a lot of water. It's really not that hard. Get yourself a reusable water bottle, especially a bigger one, like a 32 ounce, so you don't have to fill it up as many times. That's one tip. It's actually not that hard. It's difficult to show up for yourself every day. Okay, when I say it's not that hard, it's not rocket science. I feel like people try to act like it's rocket science. They try to sell you stuff, all this fancy, glitzy stuff. Put on a darn YouTube video and work on your freaking living room or your bedroom, wherever you have space, even if you only have like this much space, like you can do something, right? And I think people think that they need to get a gym membership. They need to get all these equipment. A walk is not enough. You have all these like gym bros that are like, no, you need to lift heavy. You need to do this. You need to do that. And that's fine. And like, if you're talking about holistic longevity, yeah, ideally you need some resistance training in there. But if you're just trying to like go from like sitting on the couch all day to like, and not be, to like not being winded when you walk up the stairs, like there's so much stuff that you can do for free and without all this like extra stuff that you're being sold, Keep it simple. Go on a walk. Go to sleep an hour earlier than you were before. Like, these things will help. And I know that like some people have really big fish to fry, food insecurity, all these different things. And so like even, the basics are going to be hard. And so then like focus on survival. I'm not talking about those people, but like for a lot of people, they're actually living in, maybe difficult situations, but more like standard situations where you could do something, but you kind of get overwhelmed. And I just think that it's more simple than we're sold that it is. And we're told that it is because like influencers and whomever else is just like, buy this, do that, this program, da. And there's no magic bullet. It's all the stuff that your mom, your grandma, your teachers used to tell you, okay? You will experience so much improvement in your quality of life and your body, et cetera, the way you feel. Yeah, you can get into like the extra like things of like protein powder and creatine and like all these special training programs. Like, yeah, you can get into all of that, but it's not actually that necessary, especially in the beginning. So that's the main thing is like, yeah, it's difficult to show up for yourself every day in those ways. It's hard, especially when you're freaking exhausted. I get it. So it's hard in that way, but it's not hard in the way that like people trying to act like, well, you need this and you need that and you need this and you need that. Well, most people who are telling you that are trying to sell you something. Okay. So I don't know. I've been like ranting. I don't know if it's like making sense or if that's helpful at all for people. Maybe they're just like, you're saying it's easy. It's like, but I think the things that were working for me, like going on walks, getting outside every day, getting fresh air. When someone's like, you need like go touch grass, like, yeah, like actually touching grass helps. Not like literally touching grass, but like getting outside and like seeing the sun and feeling the sun on your face. Even me living in the Northeast and going on a walk in the wintertime, like that helped. Seeing the sun before it went down, at like freaking 3 p.m. like it does in the Northeast. Yeah, it helped. It did help the seasonal depression from not like having a chokehold on me this year. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes it is that simple and it is that free 99, and I'm not speaking to people who have health caveats, housing insecurity, food insecurity. Like I'm not speaking when you're like literally in survival mode, but like for those of us who have a little bit more to work with, some of it, we know it, but the doing it is the hard part. But I'm telling you, when you do it, you benefit. Only you benefit or only you suffer. So I've done what I've done and I'm going to keep doing it and I'll be better for it. And so I'm not here to like judge or to evangelize. But if you clicked on this video, you're probably somewhat interested in the positive improvements. And I'm telling you, they're there. Even if you don't do 75 hard, just try to go on a walk every single day for 30 days. See what it does for you. Okay. I got off my soapbox. What else did I learn? I learned that even if you fail, most times you still end up better off because you tried. Just try. Because I lost 15 pounds when I failed and 7 when I did it perfectly. So sometimes you just need to do the darn thing, okay? Even if you don't know if you're going to succeed, even if you are actively failing or you're actively bad at it, just do the thing. Do the thing. And I've been able to take that lesson, not just from 75 Hard, but apply it to so many arenas of my life. I literally have a goal for 2025 to be bad at something. Because I have so many creative pursuits that I want to, like hobbies and different things that I want to do. But like that phase where you're doing it and you suck. I just feel like as an adult, it feels so cringe to be like, bad at stuff that like children are already good at. Like, but I just set a goal for myself, be bad at something. Fail at something, because you have to like get through that phase of like being bad at something to then get to the phase where you're good at it. Okay, I failed so that I could succeed later on in the year. And I actually did a fast. I was attempting to do several fasts last year, and then I started this year with a fast. It was supposed to be a 3-day fast. I failed. I only did 1 day, but it was still more than I've ever done in the past, and I'm going to do it again until I get to 3 days. Also, side note, if you're watching this and you made it this far and you like to fast, if you have any tips for how to deal with headaches, because I'm very prone to migraines, and in particular when I don't eat. So that's what ended up making me fail, is I just had an insane migraine and I couldn't take the medicine on an empty stomach. So if anyone has any tips for that, please drop them in the comments. Okay. I think those are the 2 big lessons, but also it just reinforced for me the power of a streak and how that can be very powerful for you. Because if I know I do something every day, I'm so much more likely to do it. Because it just, in my mind, I'm like, it's not non-negotiable. Another thing that I learned, another way that 75 Hard like really just like changed the game for me. First of all, it got me to try new things in fitness that I'd never tried. But also, it got me to identify as someone who works out a lot. Because it took up so much freaking time in my day, which we'll get to, I had to like take it on as an identity. Whenever I see goal setting content and whatever on this online or even in books, they're always like, oh, make a goal a part of your identity and you'll stick to it. And because the like freaking exercising was like most of what I did, or even if I didn't, if it was only an hour and a half, but it felt like my whole day. And it also felt like I was thinking about it my whole day. So I was able to like take it on as a part of my identity without intentionally setting that mindset. It just happened. Another thing for me is, in order to keep track of all the 75 Hard tasks as well as other habits that I was trying to build up at the time, 75 Hard was the only non-negotiable. The other ones were like nice to haves, and I set goals, and a lot of times I didn't reach them, but I kept improving every month until I, in November, got all of them perfect, including the 75 Hard ones. Okay, another. And I had a habit tracker. And so I looked at this thing every single day, and I'm like, even if I don't do it every day, even if I don't stretch every day, but I stretch half of the time, again, still a net positive in my life. So I think 75 Hard got me to be more organized with like my habit tracking, because I've never been able to stick to habit tracking. I love a to-do list, love a calendar, like a Google Calendar for like organizing, one-off tasks, that kind of stuff. But I never did habit tracking. And 75 Hard got me into habit tracking because I feel like it was just so much to remember, and I didn't want to be in a position where I forgot to do what I needed to do. So I had the habit tracker. And so that has been something that has been really good, and I've been using even post 75 Hard. And I believe that's also been why I've been able to still continue to lose weight, because I'm like very cognizant of like, we're doing these things every day, and I'm tracking it, and I'm holding myself accountable. Okay. I've been yapping for quite some time. Let's just make sure that I didn't miss anything. Okay, so who would I recommend 75 Hard for? It takes a ton of time. I would say if you're going to do it, try and get as much possible done in the morning, which means that you have to have a good lock on your sleep schedule. So I'd say if you're thinking about 75 hard and you don't have your sleep schedule on lock, try to get your sleep schedule on lock first so that you can get up early in the morning and like at least have one of your workouts out the way before work. Like ideally both, but at least one. Because I think once you start trying to do everything in the night and like scramble, it's hard. It's going to be really hard to sustain. You're going to be even more exhausted than you are naturally going to be. You're going to need more sleep because you're going to be moving your body, for most of you, more than you've ever moved it before. So you're going to be tired. So like one thing, make sure your sleep is on lock. Sleep is not one of the things on the list for 75 hard, but like major key, work on your sleep and you'll get so much more out of 75 hard. So that's one thing I would recommend. And for who I would recommend it for is someone who A, can or will get a handle on their sleep, and so you'll get a good rest while you're doing it. And that also someone who a streak is very powerful for them. I think I would recommend it for you. Also someone who's able to be kind with themselves. If you're a perfectionist and you're going to be berating yourself in your mind, it's going to be a hard time for you, especially if you keep quote unquote failing. So for me, it was kind of exposure therapy because I am a perfectionist, and it was failure exposure therapy because I just set that goal for myself and I didn't even tell anyone. I think I only told my mom and like one friend. So for me personally, the stakes of failing were relatively low, and the like potential of like succeeding out of this world. So I kind of just went for it. But I think it could get toxic. So just be wary of that. And I think January is a fantastic time to start, which is why I wanted to film this video. Now, if you're interested in it, January, February, I started it February last year. It's a fantastic time to start because a lot of people, especially in the Northeast, are not as social. People are kind of inside. You're kind of coming down from being super busy in December. Maybe you had travel. Maybe you spent a lot of money, all that kind of stuff. So I think people are less social in January and February than any other time of the year. Maybe where you live, that's not the case, but where I live, that is the case. So it's a lot easier because 75 hard is very time consuming. And so it's a lot easier when you're not in a space of like everyone's going out, drinking, having events, having parties, whatever. Because then you have more opportunities where you would want to maybe fail or give up or whatever words you want to use there, or just like not stick to the plan. Let's try and use more neutral language. Okay. So I know people have a lot of feelings about New Year's resolutions, etc., but I think start when you're ready. Like even if you can't start in January, you can't start in February where people are kind of in their hibernation periods. Start whenever you're ready, okay? Just start, because you will be better for it, even if you fail. I'm living proof that even if you fail, you'll be better for it. And then also, if you fail, don't be afraid to try again. I haven't watched this video yet. There's this young lady that I think is on her 5th 75 hard attempt, and she's posting about it, and I'm like, good for you. That's amazing to keep like coming back and being like, I'm gonna get this. At some point, I'm gonna get this. I'd say don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to fail and try again. Don't be afraid to do what I did and just add the days on the end. Last and final thing I'll say, careful with, at least for me personally, I measured my weight every single day. In general, my whole weight loss journey, I've been doing that. I wasn't as perfect at it in the beginning, but like of the last, like since August, I've been like every single day, not missing a day, unless I'm traveling or don't have access to a scale or something. Weighing yourself every day, taking pictures of yourself every day, it can get toxic. Like you're going to look at this scale, you're going to look at the pictures and be like, oh, things are not going the way that I want them to go. And your mood is dependent on whether you look skinny that day or whether the number is lower than you thought it was or whatever. Just be wary of that. Because at the end of the day, yes, we live in a society. Skinny people, in my opinion, are treated better than people in larger bodies, and there's definitely a push towards that because allegedly it denotes health, even though we know that it doesn't. There's a lot of pressure to be thin, especially now. So I get it. Not here to preach or blame anyone who can kind of get in a weird headspace about that kind of stuff, but just be wary of it. I was wary of it, particularly for the pictures, less so the scale, but particularly for the pictures. And I had to check in with myself. And I will tell you this, I hated the progress photos. I had to take them and not look at them because I can't just analyze my body every single day, body check every single time I look in the mirror. Like, it's not healthy. So although I did it for the sake of just doing the challenge perfectly, I'm not gonna lie to you, I hated every second of it. I really did. Because I feel like it encouraged me to body check in a way that was not healthy. But I did it, I survived, and I just was cognizant of that. And when I felt things getting a little weird, I tried to mitigate that by like taking progress photos in like full clothing versus like underwear, or take the picture and try not to look at it, try to journal, that kind of stuff. Journal whatever like upsetting feelings I was having about it. But I don't think that there's any perfect solution other than just not doing it. But for me, it was the mental toughness that I wanted to develop of I'm doing a hard thing perfectly. So I did the thing, even though it wasn't the healthiest for me. I'm not saying that's going to work for everyone. I'm not recommending 75 hard for everyone. But I think if you've clicked on this video, and I'm probably not even the first person you've watched talk about this challenge, just do it. I would say just do it. Because you want to. I think when you know when you want to do something, and it's just like, it's hard, but you'll prove something to yourself, and that's really powerful. It is. I hated the progress photo. I love the reading, but I'm also a reader in general, but I don't read nonfiction as consistently as I did last year because of 75 Hard. So that was great. It got me into reading nonfiction more consistently. Because normally when I would do nonfiction in the past, it would just be an audiobook. So I was kind of forced to read physically little by little, because my problem with nonfiction is it doesn't have that same momentum that like a book with a plot does, where you're like, I need to know what happens next. Obviously memoirs, but like it still just doesn't always have that page turner effect that fiction does for me. But I think it was amazing to read all the nonfiction that I read last year. I feel like I learned so much. And I guess when I put up the progress photos, and I think that's really all I had to say. I know there's going to be a ton of productivity, goal setting, weight loss, all the whole 9 type videos coming on your feed in January, because, you know, this is the time, resolutions, fresh starts, goal setting, all the things. Be kind to yourself. Because I know you're going to look at my video or anyone's video where they're like, look at what all the things I've done with my life, and look at my vision board, and look at all these things, and you can kind of be like, why not me? Or, dang, I'm failing, and I'm behind, or whatever these things can be. So just be gentle with yourself, be kind with yourself. Many people, they didn't start from the same place you started from, or they had years and years of building up that foundation until they finally blossomed last year or whatever it is. Just don't compare yourself to others. You're on your own journey, and you'll get where you need to be when you need to be there. And I truly, truly believe that. So yeah, I would say, although this is a great time to assess, goal set, reset, all the things, and I'm very much doing that, only do that if you're in the headspace for it, you're ready for it. Don't like strong arm yourself, browbeat yourself into making those changes, because it doesn't have to be January. It could be March. It could be in the summer. Whenever it is that you're ready, do the thing. I think that's kind of it. Thank you so much for your time. I know there's a million places you could be on the internet, so thank you for being with me even just for this brief moment. I appreciate you, and I will see you very soon.